Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the program. It's Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. We are going to talk NFL draft as it pertains to Ohio State. You don't care what we have to say about what the New Orleans Saints or the Atlanta Falcons did. You just care about what the Buckeyes did in the NFL draft. That's right, 4 Ohio State players selected in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft. That is the most of any program. The Buckeyes are going for this thing you call a record. 15 players selected in the NFL draft. 4 are already selected. There are 11 more to tie the record, 12 more to break the record. We'll get into that and a lot more here on the program with Mick. Of course, this program is brought to you by the Big Game Football Factory, biggameusa.com/Buckeyes. If you go to biggameusa.com/Buckeyes right now, you can get your hands on one of these premium leather footballs. They've got the great fractal swoosh. They've got the college football playoff logo from when the Buckeyes, hoisted that national championship trophy. And then, of course, the iconic Block O. It's made with handcrafted, beautiful leather. You can get your hands on one of these footballs just like the Buckeyes did in the national championship game and commemorate that national championship with the official football that the Buckeyes played with. Mick, how you doing? How was the first round of the NFL draft? And what'd you think of just overall thoughts, I guess? We won't get into individual players, but how are you and what'd you think?
Yeah, seeing Ohio State get 4 in, because I think you and I yesterday were prepping for 2, maybe 3, but to get 4, to get Tyleik Williams in there, to actually get Donovan Jackson in the first round, to have 2 offensive linemen, to have 5 wide receivers for the fifth straight or 5 straight drafts with the first round wide receiver, like records being broken, things being said every time that Ohio State steps up to the I guess it gets ready for the NFL draft every year. So it's pretty cool to see. Awesome for those players. Obviously, awesome for the Ohio State coaches, and obviously, we've talked about it before. You don't root for a team. You root for these people. You root for the players. So it's good for those players, good for the coaches at Ohio State to see all this kind of come together.
Yeah, it's awesome. First of all, Emeka Egbuka, 19th overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I texted one of my friends the other day, who's also on the Ohio State beat, and I said, I like to think of Emeka Egbuka as an inexperienced Chris Godwin because, you can't say poor man's because he's a first-round pick. But, he is what I could see him being in 5-10 years is Chris Godwin. Well, now he's going to play with Chris Godwin. So that, way to go, I guess, for me, but way to go for the Bucs for realizing that Chris Godwin's not going to live forever and just having a Chris Godwin clone behind him in Emeka Egbuka. Then you've got Tyleik Williams. No, then you've got Donovan Jackson going 24th overall to the Minnesota Vikings. Perfect fit at the perfect time for a great player. That offensive line is going to be really, really freaking good in the future, blocking for what we presume is J.J. McCarthy in that offense. Donovan Jackson, very interesting player for an interesting pick there. Then you go 28, Tyleik Williams to the Detroit Lions. A lot of people comped him to Aleem McNeil. Now he's going to play with Aleem McNeil. So there you go. Another perfect fit at the perfect time up for Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. And then to cap it off, I even posted on the Lettermen Row NFL Draft Live blog because we're doing some Ohio State stuff over there at lettermenrow.com. That Ohio State had 3 players selected in the first round. And then lo and behold, 32, the Kansas City Chiefs take Josh Simmons, who some people last night were talking about being the number 1 tackle in the entire draft, a top 5 player overall had he not gotten hurt. Well, he did get hurt. So he slides down to the bottom of the first round. But the Chiefs obviously have no issues with that patella tendon that was torn. He's got a lot of rehab to do to get back to where he needs to be. He had some questions about, I think, maturity. But the Chiefs got a really good player, and now the Buckeyes have 4 first-round picks, extend their lead of most first-round picks all time. I think they have 95 now. The closest is USC at 86. But that was a heck of a first round for Ohio State. You've got the wide receiver pitch continuing. You've got offensive line finally with being able to pitch their talking points to recruits. And then, of course, you've got another draft pick in Tyleik Williams, the first defensive tackle to be selected from Ohio State in the first round since Cam Hayward in 2011. But if you want to drill down, Hayward was technically a defensive end when the Steelers took him. So it's really all the way back to 2001. That is just a remarkable stat there for Tyleik Williams, and it shows how good he was.
Yeah, obviously, the Michigan, you and I were talking before the show, Michigan wanted to try and break the record, thinking they could get 4 in the first round, their own personal program record. Obviously, Ohio State had 6 in 2016, so get your numbers up, I guess. But when it comes to Michigan wanting to break the record, Will Johnson doesn't get drafted in the first round, and obviously props to them. You get 5 guys in the top, or 3 guys in the top 13. You're getting highly drafted players. That's great news. But when you look at these 4 players for Ohio State, like you said, Emeka Egbuka going where he's going to learn from Chris Godwin, in an offense with a stable quarterback like Baker Mayfield. Good whole like franchise that has continued to win and kind of stay in that top like 20 or that playoff range. So Emeka Buka, I fully trust that he's going to succeed there. Donovan Jackson, I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the better head coaches in the NFL. He's going to now play for a system and an offense that's probably going to lead to success for him because he can play multiple spots and he's just going to be successful wherever he goes. That's kind of what Donovan Jackson is. Tyleik Williams is now going to play for one of the better like up and coming franchises when it comes to Detroit Lions that could play for a Super Bowl in these coming years. And then obviously you have Josh Simmons going to the Chiefs where he'll protect Patrick Mahomes' blind side at left tackle, where they have continued to play for Super Bowls. So like you're talking about guys that could win Super Bowls, be really good at the NFL and be on really good teams. So the situations, obviously, when you've had times in the past where you have Justin Fields go to the like disassembled Chicago Bears franchise or some of these franchises where it just wasn't going to be sustainable. But now you have four guys that go to four solid franchises that should probably be successful. And also you set the record for the most, the nightly record. You had the most first-round picks last night of any program.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like you said, they all went to good, successful franchises. Like these are not poorly run. We're not talking about like the Jags of the past. Now they've got a new GM. We'll see. Or even the Browns. I don't mean to take a shot at Browns fans because obviously we're not Browns fans. Or like the Cardinals. You think of like the teams that stay kind of at the bottom of the league. Like these are not those. You got the Lions who are up and coming, who have kind of pulled themselves up by their bootstraps out of that bottom tier of the league. You're talking about the Bucs, who are consistently a playoff team, if nothing else, because their division sucks. The Chiefs, who are the gold standard in the NFL, even though they just lost the Super Bowl. So it's in the Vikings, who obviously just went I think 15 or 16-1 last year, 15-2, whatever, and then kind of folded in the playoffs. But we'll see what happens there. Some stats, courtesy of our friends around the interwebs. And I'll give full credit here to all of these. Ohio State had two offensive linemen taken in the first round of the NFL draft 4 times in their history, 1963, 1969, 1975, and now this year. That is courtesy of Marcus Hartman from the Dayton Daily News. Donovan Jackson, Josh Simmons, the first Ohio State offensive line pair to go in the first round of the NFL draft since 1975. So that's crazy. Here's another one for you. Ryan Day, after 6 seasons at Ohio State, 14 first-round draft picks, 10 losses. That's from our friend Tony Girdman over at Buckeye Huddle. That's just crazy to me. Ryan Day and Kirby Smart both have more first-round picks than they do losses during their tenures. Ryan's been there for 6 years. Kirby's been there for 9. Kirby has 20 first-round picks and 19 losses. Ryan Day has 14 first-round picks and 10 losses. Do we think Ryan can get to 20 first-round picks before he gets to 19 losses and kind of pass Kirby for that record? He'd have to lose 3 games a year for the next 3 years to get to 19 losses.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I think he's got a little breathing room up there. But I mean, obviously, you and I have talked about it in the past over the past couple of months since his departure. But hat tip to Justin Fry and what this offensive line group did.
Yeah,
like you're talking about getting 2 of these guys in the first round. It was even cool to see Ohio State posted social media videos congratulating these guys. Justin Fry, Mike Salini, still in those videos, despite the fact that Justin Fry is now in the NFL. Like he's still taking time to congratulate these guys because those are his guys. And then even like Mike Salini, like hat tip to him to helping get these guys develop. Now getting the UNLV job, and we're not talking recruiting today, but Drew Evers, who's the top target for Ohio State, is going to take an official visit to UNLV due in large part to the relationship he had with Mike Salini and just the respect he has for him. 4-star offensive lineman wants to go see Mike Salini, about UNLV, so hat tip to him. Just those guys in general, developing those 2 offensive linemen in the first-round picks. Somebody posted on the Lettermen Row message board, $1 for your first 7 days. You can kind of see this comment and come talk about some other comments on there. But has anybody ever had 2 starting left tackles taken? Obviously, with the Josh Simmons injury, Donovan Jackson bumps out to play left tackle. I don't know about that research. I don't know if you could find it because most teams that are getting a left tackle drafted are guys that have played for the whole season. But still, to get Donovan Jackson, Josh Simmons, guys that have moved around, kind of had their ups and downs with Josh Simmons with his penalties, with Donovan Jackson, maybe not always being the most 5-star guard that everybody kind of thought he was going to be until he becomes like the stud left tackle. Like getting those guys to the point where they were first-round picks is awesome for Ohio State. And
one final stat here, and Tyler Bowen's going to have a hell of a recruiting pitch now with all of that. One final stat here, courtesy of Dan Hope of 11 Warriors. Going into this year's draft, the Bucs and the Chiefs were the NFL teams who had gone the longest without drafting an Ohio State player. The Bucs had not drafted one since 2004, and the Chiefs hadn't drafted one since 2009. Both of them took first-round Ohio State players, so that's kind of crazy. The Philadelphia Eagles are now the longest drought when it comes to drafting Ohio State players. They have not selected an Ohio State player since 2011. So something to watch. Maybe the Eagles draft one of these many Buckeyes, and then that kind of resets that. But now the Eagles, you're on the clock. You got to take a Buckeye because the Chiefs and the Bucks have both snapped pretty long droughts over a decade long. So if we see the Eagles jump up and get a Buckeye in the rest of this draft, then a new team will become the longest tenured without drafting an Ohio State player. And to be honest, Mick, it might be our Steelers.
Well, they're going to draft Will Howard later today. And if they don't do that, they're going to take Ty Hamilton or somebody else down the line. Obviously, we got Derek Harmon yesterday, feeling good about that. It's funny, this sidebar when Ohio State discussion, but it's funny to watch Derek Harmon highlights because a lot of them came against Ohio State by just the sheer number of times he played. And if we go back to Donovan Jackson, I was watching an interview with Derek Harmon earlier before the show, and he even mentioned that Donovan Jackson was the hardest guy he's ever had to face because you had the 2 years at Ohio State, then you had the 2 times at Oregon. They've faced off against each other a ton of times. But yeah, when you talk about teams drafting Buckeyes, I have a little group chat with some friends of mine, and I was thinking maybe they try and steal Travion Henderson there. The Eagles do at the end of the draft. Maybe that's what they were looking to do. I just get a backfill guy for Saquon Barkley, who obviously was outstanding last year, but still, I'd imagine with the depth of this draft class, with the way the Eagles prioritize guys, you're talking Seth McLaughlin down there. Maybe that's the guy they'll want, backup center. They always prioritize the offensive line. You still got Ty Hamilton, JT Tuipulotu, and Jack Sawyer. There's plenty of opportunity for the Eagles to kind of snap this streak, and hopefully our Steelers can get one too. Maybe that's Will Howard. Maybe that's Jordan Hancock. I don't know who it would be, but hopefully just somebody ends up in Pittsburgh for us.
Who's the best player still available from Ohio State? I think it's Travion Henderson. Do you have a rebuttal to that, or are we kind of aligned there?
I mean, you could probably go back and forth Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, those.
Yeah, it's your taste, right? Whatever your flavor is, there you can pick one of those two guys, and you're probably going to be pretty smart. It just depends on which one you like more.
Yeah, I mean, both those guys too. I would love to see them end up on our Steelers, but I think Travion's speed, like we saw in the Texas game, like you saw in the Oregon game, the ability to break 50, 60-yard runs against top-level competition probably makes him the higher-ranked prospect in the NFL's eyes. But still, both those guys, I know Carlos Loughlin, Tony Johnson, the guys at the Ohio State running back room are really hoping to see Trey get in the first round last night. Still, regardless, I expect him to go probably pretty high here on day 2 and be a successful NFL player just because he's that type of guy that's going to succeed. But yeah, I'd probably say Trey Henderson, Cody Simon. We haven't even mentioned him too as well. There's just a long list of guys that we could go down when it comes to these next couple of days that Spencer will have to be writing a lot of stories about to make sure he's kind of keeping up. And maybe we'll even get some extra thoughts if you start breaking records or anything that Ohio State's chasing here.
All right, Mick. Nobody cares about these guys now. They're off to the NFL. Who cares about them? Get them out. No, just kidding. They're all national champions. They'll be remembered forever. But I am ready to move on. We've still got, I think, 13 Buckeyes who can be drafted, 11 that we expect to be drafted. We're looking ahead, Mick. Who will be the next first-round pick from Ohio State? Meaning, not just you have to nail that they're going to be a first-round pick next year, but you have to nail that they're going to be the first-round pick from Ohio State next year. If you had to guess who's going to be the first-round pick for Ohio State next year?
Give me one Alex Sonny Styles as the first Buckeye off the board next year. I was talking to him when I saw him at one of the women's basketball games we cover this year because he has a friend on the team, and we were just kind of chatting during the break there. And I was asking about, it was right around combine time when you were in Indianapolis, so you and I were texting kind of off to the side as well afterwards. But I told him, I was like, it sucks that you're not going to work out at the combine. He was like, no, I'd love to. I was like, by the time next year rolls around, if you guys have the season you want to, if you continue to show out athletically like you already have, you'll probably have no reason to, but I still think you would crush it. I think Ohio State's going to end up getting a linebacker in the first round next year with James Laurinaitis and getting Alex Sonny Styles off the board. Obviously, Carnell Tate is a big one too. I think that's probably another guy that you would go to in that slot for the first round. Get Ohio State's wide receiver first round draft record up to 6 years with the thought of having Jeremiah Smith and then having some of these guys like Quincy Porter or Mylan Graham coming down the pipe to continue. If you want to speculate really and just say these guys are going to hit their ceiling like they have under Brian Hartline, this wide receiver position could go probably approaching double-digit years if you really want to start prognosticating, which will be interesting to see next year. And it's kind of dependent on Carnell Tate at this point.
Well, thanks. You just took all the answers. So now we can just get out of here. I can just go eat some lunch. So it's 4 years. They've had 5 first-round picks in 4 years. Jamison Williams makes it 6 because he spent 3 years at Ohio State, 1 year at Alabama. Hey, you don't have to claim him. That's fine. But he was in that room in the spring of 2021. He was in the Ohio State wide receiver room. The spring of 2021, that Ohio State wide receiver room had 5-star Julian Fleming and 6 first-round picks. And high 4-star G. Scott, who was making the transition to the tight end room. But, that's nuts. Absolutely crazy. So there's a chance that it's Carnell Tate. There's a chance that it's Sonny Styles. I don't mind that. There's a chance, to be honest, if he hits a ceiling, that's Kenyatta Jackson, because he could have just as much production as some of these other guys like Shamar Stewart and James Pierce, who I don't think either of them are crazy good, especially Stewart. I don't really see that. And then Pierce, I really wasn't impressed with all year, especially the Ohio State game. Donovan Jackson kind of ate his lunch. If Kenyatta is good, is what I'm saying. There's no reason he can't be there.
Here's another one. I'll throw it out there for you. There was some buzz. You can expound upon this, but what about Ethan Onyonwa if he's able to succeed at left tackle? Are we talking about a first-round left tackle again?
There's potential. I mean, I think he could have been a 3rd or 4th round pick this year. So if he proves himself and is good, then yeah, I mean, we can talk. One of the guys that I have my eye on, though, and there's only one safety that went this year. Even Onuwari or however you say his name, Imanuwari from. I'm sorry, I don't mean to mispronounce his name, but he didn't go, and he was the most athletic freak at safety we've ever seen at the combine. But Caleb Downs is so instinctive. He's so good. He's so gifted. I think he might fall into a little bit of a tweener situation at the next level. But man, is he really good. And somebody's going to take him kind of like somebody took Malachi Starks. The Ravens took Malachi Starks not because he had an insane junior year at Georgia. It's just because over 3 years he put together a body of work that was okay, this guy can just flat out play football. And man, that's what you're going to be able to say about Caleb Downs. So it won't surprise me if Caleb Downs is a first-round pick next year. And obviously, Ohio State's not going to have 7 first-round picks. We're just kind of throwing things out here to see, what not really what sticks, but just, it's interesting. I'm also just keeping an eye on, and I know that he won't have the largest body of work, but the things we hear about Austin Saraville being the best offensive lineman on this team, I don't know if he's really good, and Ohio State starts to build a little bit of an offensive line pipeline here. So there's a lot of options here, which is why on LettermenRow.com at about 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon, Spencer Holbrook will have a list of Ohio State players who could be first-round picks next year. 2 years ago, Mick, when Ohio State had Jeremiah Smith committed, but he hadn't even played his senior year of high school yet, I tried to go down the roster and predict every first-round pick on the entire roster. It was a disaster. It's really difficult. Some of the guys that I predicted as first-round picks, it's oh my gosh, what a disaster. But before he even played a snap of his senior year of high school football, I predicted that Jeremiah Smith would be a first-round pick in the 2027 NFL draft, and I think I'm going to be right. So
that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, we obviously if you're a betting man, so FanDuel Sports, I believe, is where you would want to go bet when they're not setting these lines. But next year, we'll just throw out 2 numbers real quick. Spencer, next year, 2026 NFL draft, over under 2.5 Ohio State first-round picks next year.
I'll go with 2.
There you go. And then now this is a tertiary way of gauging your thoughts on the quarterback battle ensuing for this upcoming season for Ohio State. Over under 1.5 in 2027. So you're assuming Jeremiah Smith.
Over. And that's not even really quarterback. That's just the defensive line. I mean, there's linebackers that are going to be Arvell Reese. There's corners, whether that's Aaron Scott, Jermaine Matthews,
Phillip Daniels, maybe
Phillip. Yeah. You're Bryce West. There's a lot of talent on this roster. For what it's worth, Mick, I did just pull up it's a year ago today. On April 25th, 2024, I said predicting the next Buckeye star to become first-round picks. Emeka Egbuka. So there's a tip to the cap, the old Spence. and Tyleik Williams was on there. Now, Josh Simmons was not in that mix, and neither was Donovan Jackson. And I think the Donovan Jackson rationale was purely because he was playing guard. I did not expect him to play tackle. So, like, the guards just typically don't go in the first round, even though we did see 2 first-round guards, Tyler Booker to the Dallas Cowboys and Gray Zabel from North Dakota State to the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe my favorite pick in the entire draft, solely because they asked him what he was going to do to celebrate the being picked in the NFL draft, and he said he was going to drink a lot of Busch Light. That's my kind of guy. Okay, so
he fits right up in there in Northwest Ohio there for you, Spence.
Absolutely,
fits right
absolutely. There's a good Hardin County, North Dakota State connection there that we appreciate. But anyway, a lot of predictions are coming at lettermenrow.com because we're just going to predict who the next Buckeyes are, because guess what? If I'm wrong, then I just bring it up and it's fine. Like I had in this story that I just brought up, I had JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Denzel Burke, Davison Igbinosun as potential first-round picks. Like that just didn't happen. And so, we'll take a swing. And if we get 2 out of 8 right, then we'll be just like those mock draft experts who all had Shadur Sanders going 21 to the Steelers, and then that didn't happen. So we're going to get out of here. Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. This was a fun, spirited Friday Ohio State NFL draft discussion. Doing well. Haven't had some coffee this morning. Getting ready for some lunch. Going to have a good weekend watching the draft. Mick, I hope you have a great weekend. You went to Texas this week. We'll talk about that on Monday. Does that sound good?
Talking Texas.
Or maybe even Tuesday. Oh, we can talk Texas on Tuesday.
But you also have to clarify. Are we doing a way too early preview of week 1 in Texas, or are we talking Texas recruiting? I guess you have to tune in on Monday or Tuesday to find out.
Maybe we'll dabble in both, considering there might be some guys on campus who are checking out both schools. Because Monday we'll probably talk a little bit more about the NFL draft, some fits at once all 7 rounds are in the books. And we'll see what our Steelers do. We'll see what the Buckeyes have in store for this. We'll see what the Browns and Bengals do for all the Ohio sports fans here. And then we'll see you over at lettermenrow.com. That's Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys over there. $1 for your first 7 days. It gets you a whole week of Mick and the gang. Mick, Alex Gleitman, a.k.a. AG, and myself, Spencer Holbrook. We're all over there chatting, hanging out, talking about the Bucks. You guys can come join us for $1 for 7 days. Come join us today over at lettermenrow.com.